Hey, Buddy Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report. Celtics holding practice after Game 2 last night, before they head down to Miami for Games 3 and 4 of this series, now tied 1-1. We caught up with Kristaps Porzingis today after his rough Game 2, and Al Horford for his thoughts on big letdown in that Game 2. We talked about it a ton last night, but interesting to just hear from Joe again today, Noah, and pretty much the same message of you got to adjust. The threes fell in a massive way, and that's basically where they have to look at being better, is stopping those threes and generating more good ones of their own.
Yeah, I had a couple takeaways from practice today. I think you saw Al Horford stress many times that they need to do a better job
That's
of
all
guarding
he
the
talked
perimeter.
about.
He literally mentioned it 7 times. I just looked back at the transcript. So I think that's definitely going to be a point of emphasis for them, while understanding that there's certain things that are out of their control. I think the intensity on that end is going to be a lot better for Game 3 regardless of the outcome. And then I thought Porzingis was a little bit more reserved than usual in his media availability. I think this is the first time he's really dealt with real adversity as a Celtic. Like, he's had a really phenomenal year. He also mentioned a couple times, I don't think he wanted to detail like specific adjustments that he's going to make. So we'll look to see. I'd imagine that he's going to be looking for better positioning in the post and things like that. But also just like on the rewatch, I thought that he missed a lot of easy shots that he probably will make again in the future. But yeah, those were kind of my main takeaways. Joe talked a little bit about making adjustments and recognizing that it's not going to be just Game 3 is going to be a copy of Game 2 also. So I think it's hard to predict right now what Miami's going to have up their sleeve for this next one.
Even more so than last night when they looked pretty humbled. They sounded pretty humbled. You could tell they got to look back at how they played in that game and saw how many open threes they gave up, how lackadaisical they played defensively, and said, oh, we screwed up there. And there was a real humbleness. I'd never seen Kristaps like that in terms of just more talking about the team, less than himself there, and how he can perform better there. He seemed pretty down about how he played last night. Well, remain a little hopeful that he can turn around there. Admitted the Heat are doing a lot of things that make offense very difficult on them. And Joe, to his credit too, seemed more willing to switch up in the flow of a game. I asked him, do you have any regrets from that game? And he said it's not about having regrets. It's about doing it when you can change it in the game. So it's just definitely a group right now that got woken up by that Game 2, got reminded that they're not just going to show up and win this series automatically, and now he's going to have to, especially on the fly in these games, be able to adapt to what the Heat are doing mid-game, because like you said, it's not going to be the same. They're going to change things in the game, and if things aren't going well, you can't just go out after and say it was a good game plan, it just didn't work. You actually have to change it to get the wins in this.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that Joe definitely, was willing to admit that there's some things that they're going to change. And I also think Porzingis' desire to not get into details around things he's going to change was probably a little bit strategic too. Part of it was just him not wanting to talk about it, but I do think he didn't want to go through and say these are all the small things that I'm going to do different. It seemed like he had a little bit of that to him, like from a scouting perspective. So yeah, curious how they're going to show up in Game 3. It was not as energetic of an environment that we've seen in the past in this practice.
We'll have coverage of it all starting on Saturday. Celtics going to do a shoot-around down there, so we'll hopefully make it over there, see what's going on, what the mood is going into the game, and, of course, have coverage of the game. 6 o'clock Saturday in Miami. Celtics Heat continues. She's Noa Dalzell. Check her workout at CelticsBlog.com. Check out the interviews today, CLNS Media, and more coverage throughout the series on Celtics All Access. I'm Buddy Manning. This has been a practice edition of the Garden Report.